Joining me now is the former Senior Director for National Security Council and Principal Architect of the Abraham Accords, Robert Greenway. Robert, thank you so much for being here. First, I want to get your take on Poland taking down Russian drones. Now, the Secretary of State just there with me earlier this morning said that they were, quote unquote, duds. There was not any ammunition in the drones, but it was a message to NATO. They wanted to test NATO to see if there would be a reaction. Your reaction?
Well, thanks for having me, Maria. I think the Secretary's exactly right. This is no mistake. The number, the sheer quantity that crossed the border, the fact that they were unarmed, apparently without an explosive payload, indicates that this was a deliberate decision to increase negotiating leverage. And attacks overall in this year are 9 times what they were year to date last year, all of which I think indicates that that President Putin has tried to increase his negotiating leverage. I think it's going to backfire, and he's managed to place great distance between himself and President Trump, and in the process is going to find increased economic and military pressure against him. And I think that's what you can expect from the president during his state visit to the UK.
Well, I mean, these are very dangerous exercises, obviously, given Article 5 that says if you invade one NATO country, the entire bloc will respond. Robert, are you expecting a response here? I mean, obviously, Vladimir Putin is testing the world.
Oh, there's no question. I think President Trump doesn't get enough credit for already applying economic pressure, dropping Russia's GDP growth from 4.5% last year to 1.5%. Most of that done by lowering the price of oil, from which Russia derives most of its export revenue. But I think you can expect increased commitment, not just from NATO partners agreeing to 5% of their defense spending, but also an increased commitment of U.S. sales purchased by European partners that'll find themselves in Ukrainian hands. And so I think Putin is overplaying his hand, and I think he's going to pay the price for it.
Yeah, and that's basically what we heard from the Secretary of State, Marcin Serdach from Poland just a few minutes ago. Robert, you are also celebrating and marking the 5th anniversary of the Abraham Accords, which you were the principal architect of, signing that on September 15th, 2020. Congratulations. You're also the director of the Heritage Foundation Center for National Security. Heritage released a report today detailing how that historic agreement has impacted each signing country for the better. Robert, what are your expectations? What does this day mean to you?
Well, I appreciate it very much. And I think President Trump has cause for celebration as well, having laid the foundations for historic peace, the first in 25 years during the first administration. And having built that foundation, as he and other builders would know, it's easier then to erect a structure on top of it. And I think now that Israel and the United States' actions in just the past 6 months and since October the 7th have shown, one, that the accords endure. Trade has increased 173% among Accord member countries, and Israel's defense sales have increased 12% during that time to Accord member countries. I think you can expect the president in Israel to expand on the foundation bill, and I think they can do so because they've eliminated a number of the threats, including Iran's nuclear program, which was a shadow over the region and is no longer the case. Preventing that from being reestablished would be critically important, but also then recognizes the convergent interests. The big vision here is that expanding Israel's relationships helps move goods and services from Asian and European markets. That economic glue will hold them together, and no better person to see that vision through than President Trump, the man who built the accords in the first place. So I'm optimistic that over the course of the next 3 years, we'll see a dramatic expansion.
Yeah, it's incredible what the president and you have been able to do with these Abraham Accords. Now, Secretary of Treasury Bessent is in Madrid with Chinese trade negotiators right now. Robert, how does China fit into this picture?
Well, on the first subject, in terms of the Ukraine conflict, critically important to keep the distance between Beijing and Moscow, particularly on security, but also on energy. And we all recognize how vitally important that is. But second, as it pertains to the Middle East, it's 43% of China's imports. So our interests there are inexorable. And so we have to maintain a control over the global energy markets to prevent Russia from expanding the conflict, reestablishing its military, and from limiting Chinese aggressive ambitions in the Pacific. And all of that happens, I think, in an economic context, and energy is behind all of it. And Secretary Bessent certainly understands it. Certainly President Trump does.
Yes, for sure. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, meanwhile, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this morning, reportedly discussing the Israel-Hamas war and Israel's recent strike in Doha, Qatar, targeting senior Hamas officials who were in Qatar. The president had this message for Israel ahead of the meeting. Watch.
They have to be very, very careful. They have to do something about Hamas. But Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. So Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
Your reaction, Robert, earlier today, the Prime Minister of Qatar denounced the strike as an attack on the principle of mediation itself, while at a Dubai summit with Arab and Muslim nations. The IDF striking more high-rise buildings in Gaza City, calling on more than 60,000 reservists for its offensive, occupying the city, Robert. But, you know, I mean, what President just said there is really critical. I mean, you know, they're going to try to take out Hamas while those Hamas people are in Qatar. So does this tempt Qatar to become adversarial?
Well, it's a great question. Look, I think the reality is that either terrorists are going to be hunting or they're going to be hunted. And I think what Israel and the United States have indicated is that terrorists are better handled when they are hunted. Now, obviously, the situation is complicated because they find themselves inside the jurisdiction of a close ally of the United States in the form of Qatar. President Trump's exactly right, and I think he's threaded the needle. I think you can look at the rhetorical response to this, engage it against those actions taken since, and you've seen a lot of rhetoric, but you've seen very little action. I think that's a recognition of Israel's new position in the region after the 12-day war. I think this will be navigated. I think it has to be done delicately, but I think inexorably Israel's established itself as an indispensable partner for the United States and also for regional partners as it pertains to combating terrorism.
Right. I mean, you know, part of it is the fact that Hamas is based in Qatar. So, you know, Robert, I mean, Israel wants to take out the head of Hamas. They live in Qatar.
Yeah, we had the same conflict when we were waging a conflict in Afghanistan with sanctuary provided in Pakistan and ultimately raided just a few miles down from their National Military Academy in order to kill Osama bin Laden. I think the same conflict holds here, has to be navigated carefully, but again, I think inevitable under the circumstances. And now the question is, how can we bring the conflict in Gaza to conclusion? I think without their leadership, it makes it easier, not harder. They never accepted a ceasefire agreement lately. Anyway, I don't think they were likely to under the current circumstances, so I understand the strike.
Very good. Robert, thank you very much for weighing in on all of that. We so appreciate your work.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Robert Greenway.